Hey, what's up, guys? Ronin Man here. Hey, there's a lot of books, there's a lot of blogs, there's a lot of videos about women being dishonest, and in particular about sex. And there's a lot of anger in a lot of these commentaries. And I don't want to say that that's not good. I mean, I think, as I said in the last video, actually anger is one of our most important emotions. It's something to pay attention to. But at the same time, what I don't like about a lot of this commentary is that the guys that are doing these, they don't have any solutions. There's no, in the end, we have emotions, and then we need to, if it's a negative emotion, we need to do something to avoid that so it doesn't happen again, right? But the only way you can do that is if you have a kind of an understanding of what other options are available. But I think a lot of guys, when women are dishonest, they get very angry, but they don't know what to do about it. And one of the advantages of having a lot of experience with women is that you become kind of a sounding board for women, where they tell you stuff that they don't tell other people. They feel comfortable, and that was my experience. And I want to share some of the concepts that I was taught by women, and then how I kind of put them together to figure out what possible options are there, because it's not simple. Women are they're trained essentially to be dishonest about sex from a very young age. Like women want to have sex and they're trained not to. In the old days, because then they can't get married and it lowers their social value, right? And I talked a lot about this in the Marriage is Doomed episode. And so it's not entirely women's fault. I mean, ever since time immemorial, time began, women have been basically told not to be honest about sex. And I don't want to let women off the hook, because they're not off the fucking hook. But being dishonest about sex, it creates a lot of problems. And, like today in modern society, what I've seen, and I've never heard anybody with this analysis. So excuse me if this is a little bit wandering, but I want to try to get different angles of this. I think you'll be glad you listened to the whole thing in the end. Okay, so I remember when I was growing up, there was a movie called When Harry Met Sally. And in one scene of that movie, they were at a restaurant, the most famous scene. If you've ever seen the movie, you can't forget it. And the woman's like, she starts pretending like she has an orgasm, right? She's like, and then she's like, "It sound familiar?" She's like, "It was all fake." And it's really one of the most humiliating scenes in modern movie. It's a very memorable scene. It's a great scene because everybody can kind of relate. Every woman relates to that scene. And I want to dig into that one because I think that's a very important scene. And so what we got, okay, whoever's fault it is, however this all started, who really cares, right? It's about solutions. It's about understanding. Now, what can you do so you can have a better life? Okay, so you're going to encounter women who are going to be very dishonest about sex. And it can be really bad. And men can also be dishonest. And one of my best examples, or like I thought of, is a man who's secretly gay. There are men who marry women, but they're secretly gay. And then they're not turned on by women. And so the poor woman that marries them is in for a very sad and very lonely existence, because it's all on the surface looks good, right? The marriage looks normal, maybe the guy's attractive, but it's not just the lack of sex. And this is what I talked a lot about in sexless relationships, which definitely those two, Marriage is Doomed and sex relationships, those are two of my classics. That one is like the act of being turned down over and over is in any kind of sensual sense, is one of the most debilitating, most dangerous, terrible for your self-esteem type of thing that you can go through. It's very insidious too, because it starts out one way and it ends up another way. And we feel as humans, when we are turned down, we feel like we are somehow at fault, or somehow we're not enough. You know, like it's somehow there's a reason for it. It can't be just that there's another thing going on. But in the case of a gay man who's married, it's very, very clear that the guy is not turned on by women and has no business basically lying to a woman, deceiving her, and then trapping her into marriage. And then if she's the type that's going to stay married, you know, she's like in for a lifetime of denial. And a woman needs that. A woman needs to feel sensual. And a woman needs to feel like a woman. I mean, not every day, but there are times when women like really, really need to feel like a fucking woman. And a man who can make them feel like a woman will get the benefits of that. But when there's a okay, that's a good example, because everybody can understand that one. Now, what everybody doesn't, it's not so intuitive, is that I would say, I believe that most women are in relationships with men they don't find attractive. Now, you can search your friends, talk to your friends, look online, look at strangers, and tell me what you think. And it's so common that a woman will be with a man that she doesn't find sexually attractive. I'm talking about sex here. I'm not talking about he's a handsome guy, because that really, the heart of this matter is not a logical matter. It is a primal matter. Okay, so like, for example, let's go back to the gay man. The gay man could think the woman is beautiful. He could appreciate beauty. She could be a very beautiful woman. That's different than the primal urge to want to be with her, to want to feel her, to want to smell her, right? To want to be with her. And that is the desire that that primal urge is a very important desire in humans that makes us feel alive or something, right? And so this, I think I think modern society it's a travesty for men. It's really a travesty, because whatever the reason, women now for millennia have faked what they're attracted to. And so now we have all these marriages, basically Harry met Sally, like right and left and center in today's society. And here's from the feminist perspective, I think. Now, I'm open-minded to obviously hearing what people say, but here's my observations of society, is that many women have a great, essentially they're lied to by society, right? They're lied to that they're going to be happy if they're married, and then they get married and they're not happy, and they're very disappointed, as I said, in Marriage is Doomed, and so they take it out on the guy, because they're like, somehow this guy tricked me, or somehow I thought I was going to be happy and sexually into this guy, but I'm like, this sucks. Like they feel cold as ice. They have no desire to be with the guy. Now, what I expect from myself and what I expect from other people is honesty. Okay, is honesty. And it's not easy to be honest. I'll give you an example. In a recent relationship of mine, I was very upfront about the fact that I hadn't been with a non-Asian woman for decades. And I was worried that this was going to turn me on long term, right? Of course, one night you can get turned on. And I was honest with that, because I think that's important. I think it's important to be honest about this stuff. And if it's everything else might be right in the relationship, right? Everything's right. You want this, she wants that. Everything's good. You guys want this. Everything makes sense. But if that's not there, if the primal urge is not there, you really don't have anything in a relationship. Like, there is nothing there to save. there is fucking nothing there, okay? That has to be part of it. That is the difference. That primal urge, that sexuality is the difference between friends and lovers. And it's become so common that people like accept a mediocre life or a fake life, men and women. It's so common that you don't even like, this is like, what? You know, I actually have, some people actually want to be with the people they're with. Like they actually are turned on. It's not fake. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, what? You know, what? Are you serious? You know, like, and so what men need to do, what I recommend is that, oh yeah, I was going to add in, there's a very vindictive streak in modern society against men. And that's what that Harry Met Sally was about. It was, what she was doing is she was saying like, not only was I not satisfied with you, but like I was completely unmoved by you, you know, and I the only thing I could do is completely fake it. And what a man hears when he hears that, the reason why it was so devastating, and women know this, by the way. Oh, women know this. Women are very aware of how men think about this kind of stuff. And that's what the whole scene was about. The scene was an intense humiliation, and it was a revenge for all these years of faking it. But it was a revenge on the wrong guy. And it was a revenge, it was a spiteful revenge in the wrong way. Because women don't take responsibility for their feelings. So that woman, Sally, she knew years ago that she was not turned on by the guy. Now, is it his fault? Is it a man's fault if a woman doesn't find you attractive? Is it your fault? Now, if she tells you, let's say a woman tells you she's attracted to you, and you believe her, and you have sex. Now, combine this with the fact that it's very easy for women to fake pleasure. It's much more difficult for men because of the need to get an erection. But women, it's much easier to fake pleasure. And so it is very difficult for a man to know, especially an inexperienced man, to know what actually, if a woman's actually turned on. But I think it's your responsibility as a man to know this and to react to this. Not to blame, not to be angry, but to make a decision and to be honest with yourself. Okay? Because if a relationship starts where the girl's really not that turned on by you, it's not her fault. Like, it's not like, oh, this bitch is not turned on. It's like, no. Wrong road. No, it's like if you give a dog food and he doesn't eat it, he doesn't want to eat the food, right? You have to find food that he likes. And if a woman is not turned on by you, there are things you can do. So I don't want, it's not black and white. Life is not black and white, guys. Life is not black and white. And so I want to bring in the total complications of this. Okay, so, you know, on the one hand, if a woman's not turned on by you, you should get the fuck out. I'm serious. Don't blame her. Don't blame yourself. Don't change. Be yourself, but get out. And one thing I learned from being with 700 fucking women is that some women are very turned on by me and other ones are not. And I don't take it personally. Like, I just like, okay, this woman is not into me. You know, she's faking it. Another woman, it's like, it's almost like she can't get enough. You know, and so I think a lot of guys don't know. They're not even aware that there could be a woman who actually finds them sexually attractive. So a lot of guys just kind of compromise and say, well, I'm not that sexy. It's not attractive. But that's not the truth, guys. That is not the fucking truth. Women have orgasms with lesbian partners all the time. In fact, more than men. So there is nothing in you that makes you not attractive. You have everything you need to be a very sexual man. You need to know that. And you learn that if you're with enough women, because you realize that it's not any particular woman. One problem with having limited experience is that you start to generalize, like, okay, this is the way it is, right? It's not the way it is. There's a lot of variety out there, and you need to know that. And some women will be very turned on by you for whatever fucking reason. There's all kinds of people. And if you want to have a good life, you got to be honest with yourself. And you want to find people that are honest with you. Okay? So now here's the complication. So yes, you should leave a woman if she's not turned on by you. Don't blame her. Don't get angry. Don't make a big scene. You don't even have to say anything. You know what I mean? If you know that she's not turned on by you, you can tell, right? You've kind of done everything that you know how to do. You've done your best, and she's just not turned on. I mean, find an excuse to get out. You don't even have to explain it, because what do you need to explain? She knows it. The woman who's not turned on, she knows more than you. I would recommend being honest, but you don't have to. There's no reason to be honest. But I would recommend being honest just because it's a good way to start. And just say, look, I can see, and this is a good practice for you of not being devastated by one woman's opinion, because there are so many opinions out there. And you need to find people. It's your responsibility. It's like one friend, you got one neighbor, one friend, and the person ends up screwing you over. It's like, that's not all people. That's not all friends. You need to go find friends that you really care about, that really care about you. And it takes time, it takes work, it takes effort. And you're only going to find a few of very close friends who really care about you. And that's the same journey it takes to find a woman who's the exact right fit for you, where you can be yourself. You can be honest with her, and she can be honest with you. And there is attraction. Now, every day is not going to be fireworks, and that's fine. That's the truth. And also the complications. Here's the fucking complications. Man, there's complications like crazy in this one. The underlying truth is very real, and it's the most important. But there's also complications. Like, I had a woman, and her name was Jessie, and she was very sexy. Oh God, she was sexy. I thought she was so naturally sexy. Like, her DNA was just, like, basic DNA of her was just insane. I mean, like, literally off the charts, this girl. And so I found her very, very attractive, okay? She was fucking hot shit. She didn't need any makeup. She didn't need any clothes. She could wear clothes. She could wear a bag. She could wear a fucking cardboard box. And she was just the hottest fucking thing to me, right? And why I was really surprised with her, because so many women fake sex, okay? So, for example, when you start touching a woman, as a man that women take time to get turned on. So if a woman is suddenly going, and nothing's fucking happening, this is a dishonest woman. This is red flag city to get out. Now, you don't necessarily have to get out, but discussions need to fucking happen. They need to happen. And my discussion would be like, look, baby, I know you're not turned on yet, okay? I don't want fake you. I want the real you. Like, I want who you are. And if we don't match, we don't fucking match, That's totally fine. But I don't want to fake you, man. Like, you got to start it from the beginning, man. You got to let them know that, one, you're not like a, what do you call it? Like, what did they call that? A cupcake where you're just like get super pissed off super easy, and you're super sensitive, and you're like, your self-esteem is like a fucking, it's a house of cards ready to fall down. It's like, no, man, if you're not turned on by me, you're not turned on by me. Like, that's totally fine. Like, that's a normal thing, right? Not every woman is going to be turned on by you. Like, come on. It's just totally, the idea that every woman could be with every man, and the whole thing about marriage, about people not even having sex before they get married, is ridiculous, because you're setting yourself up for total failure if you don't understand something this primal in humans, how important it is for you, right? So with this woman was very interesting, because she actually taught me a lot, because she was very different than all my other girls. Really. This girl was so honest about sex. I could not believe it. I don't know why she was this honest about sex. I really don't know. But when I would touch her, she was like basically ice cold. Like, this girl's like smoking hot. Okay, this girl's like, I mean, her body was just, I don't even want to describe it. It's so fucking, what's that called? It would be like porn if I describe her body, right? So I would be looking at her going, oh my gosh. And I would start to touch her, and she would be like watching the TV or something, like she was not into it. And I remember like my first reaction, okay, before I kind of knew, though I was ready for the lesson, okay, that she taught me. But the lesson was just so valuable, but I still didn't like it in the beginning. So she basically was watching TV while I was touching her, and I was like, and so, you know, but I did like her, and I had several girlfriends at the time, and she knew it too. But this particular one, like sexually, she just drove me insane, right? So I was like, this one's kind of worth fighting through this one and seeing where it goes. All right. So I would keep touching her, and I let her do what she was doing. So I let her watch TV. I didn't complain. I was like, she's watching TV. That's fine. While I'm touching her. And then a funny thing happened. After a few minutes, or maybe even quite a few minutes, might have even been 20 minutes, I don't remember, but there was a point when she let out a very natural noise. And when she did that, I immediately, my subconscious, my understanding of women is pretty deep when it comes to sex. And that noise was not fake. Okay, I could feel it. It's like, holy shit. And it was different than most girls' noises. Like, I was like, it was natural. It was very, very natural. And so I kept going, and I would heat her up, and then, like, it's like a volume knob, right? You turn, slowly heat her up, right? And when I did that, this girl, she had a temperature gauge that was beyond the fucking pale. Like, when I actually, you know, like, I didn't complain, I didn't force it. I wasn't hurt, right? There was nothing like that. I just took it that she was not turned on yet. That's all. And I just kind of like stuck at it. You know, I kept doing whatever I was doing. I can't remember what I was doing. But then she started getting really hot. And it was the point where, you know, when a woman gets, after like, I don't remember how long it was, but I think I took about 2.5 hours to fuck her this time. And after about 45 minutes, it was getting really hot. And it was getting to the point where, you know, when it's so hot that you don't feel any pain. Like the chandelier could fall on your head and break and it wouldn't matter. She could like knock out your teeth with a fucking hammer and you wouldn't care. You know, like, you know that kind of feeling? Like, you're just like, that's how I was, that's how she was. And we ended up fucking like total animals for a very long time. And it was absolutely insane. And when it finished, it was very interesting. Very interesting what she said. What she said was, she looks down at her body, she goes, I hate my body. And I didn't need to know what she was saying. I knew what she was saying. What she was saying is that she wanted to, like, part of her, you know, wanted to be in charge and control me and control the situation and just be like a normal girl who doesn't get that turned on by their boyfriend. That's one way that women control men, is they choose men that don't turn them on so that they don't get too lost in the man. You know, there was a great quote in a movie, actually one of the best romantic comedies. I kind of like romantic comedies, actually. It's called Moonstruck with Cher. And she's like going to marry this guy. And she's like, do you love him? And she's like, yes. And she's like, that's awful. Because when a woman really loves a man, like, then she's like not being logical, right? And that's what you want. You want an illogical woman who's in fucking love with you. You know, that's what you fucking want. You don't want a faking woman. You don't want a woman in control. And she doesn't want it either. It's not good. It's not healthy. And it will come to bite you in the fucking ass. Okay? If you start out the right way, you can build on something. And whether you guys stay together or not, it was fucking real. I'm not saying you should stay in relationships. I'm not saying really you get a relationship. I'm saying if somebody is going to have a relationship, you should take this all into consideration. Because a fake woman, okay, faking it is the most dangerous thing for a man. It really is. When a man finds out that a woman is deceitful or dishonest, it can drive a guy to fucking suicide. Really, you are in danger. Because as a man, some of the feelings that you have, some of the stuff is not logical, especially when it comes to sex and this kind of stuff. It's very fucking primal. And your feeling of worth is more fragile than you think. You need to protect it. Don't let a cold-hearted bitch who does not like you into your life. If you're with a cold-hearted bitch, you need to get the fuck out. And it's also for her benefit too, because she's cold-hearted because she doesn't like you. And it's like, yeah, you can't. In other words, she's not the same with every man either. There is another man out there somewhere who will drive her absolutely insane. And she can't sleep at night thinking about him, right? That's what she needs to find. She needs to find that. She needs to go out and find that. And if it's not you, don't take it personally. Just say, hey baby, that's fine, we can, it's all good, baby. Because you're not a guy who's like easily, you're easygoing, right? You're honest, right? I'm not saying leave the girl. I'm saying you have to look at this. And if the woman does not really care about you, does not really love you, is not really turned on by you, even turned on, I would say, is an important thing. Fuck love and commitment and all that bullshit. I mean, just turned on. I don't want to be with a fake woman. And that's why I don't go with prostitutes. I don't like sex workers. I think they're fucking disgusting. I've never been into sex workers in any shape or form. And when I find out a woman is working in the sex industry, it's a total turn off for me. Because I know that any woman who sells their body in any form, okay, by necessity has to become very cold. She has to turn off part of her body. She has to turn off her feelings. And this is the worst thing that a woman can do. And if you accept that in your life, you're fucking crazy, guys. You are fucking mad. If you're with a woman who is not turned on by you, who's turned off her feelings, that ice cold inside block of a woman, if that is what you're trying to love, it's like trying to have a relationship with a dead person. It just doesn't work. And being single is so fucking great. In modern society, being single is fucking awesome. It's tough to beat being single these days. I mean, there's so much to do. The world is so big. There's so many people out there. Like, there's so many things to do, and having a partner is a pretty big negative in general to stop you from being free. So don't even take it personally. Like, if you don't have a partner or don't ever want a partner, you can have a fucking great life these days. It's not like the old days where the lonely fucking farmer, right? Who comes to town, and he's like miserable, right? That is not how it is these days. There's so much out there. There's so many things you can partake in. Not having a partner actually frees you up to do a lot of stuff that you wouldn't be able to do with a partner. So a partner, if you're going to fucking have a partner, it better be a good one. It better be a good one. If you're faking it, if you're glomming onto somebody because your insecurities or some bullshit like that on your part, then you're really fucking insane. And so is she. Okay, so what I learned from that woman is that an honest woman is rare, because she was very different than any other woman I was with. I'm serious. Every single time when we started having sex or being sexual, she was ice cold and she warmed up. And what the reward for me was this, is that because she was so honest, okay, because she was so fucking honest, she had no concern for my feelings, which I love. She was very honest. I don't want her to have concern for my feelings. Fuck my feelings. I want to know how she feels about me, right? And then with that, we can go somewhere, and how I feel about her. But my insecurities or my feelings about all this bullshit, who cares, right? Who fucking cares? Like, get over it, right? So what happened with Jessie was incredible, actually, is that because she was so honest with her body and with me, I learned her body better than almost any other woman, and I learned her fantasies almost better than any other woman. And she would tell me, and I would pick up on the hints, right? And this is where I got that episode, How to Be the Best She Ever Had, because what happened with Jessie was incredible, actually, is that she started orgasming, and I mean really orgasming, and it got better and better and better. And finally, I remember one time I had her on the bed, like against the what do you call it, like the bed, leaning up, like sitting up, like she's reading or something, right? And I was screwing her, and so it was a very uncomfortable position, but it was great. I had my dick inside her, and then I had my like thumb in her butt, but I was going very, very slow. Like I fucked her for several hours like this. It was so difficult, but I was in great shape, so it was okay. But oh my God, my back was dying. But it was so hot to see her that I didn't mind this particular day. And so what I was doing is I had my thumb, and then my thumb moved at the same, like with my hip. So it's like it was resting on my hip, and I was just like moving at the same direction. So, and I was telling her a fantasy, and I was going on, and I was looking at her, and she was like, she would really close her eyes, this girl, because she really loved to be lost in fantasy, this girl. And so I was like very, very slow, and I knew her body by now, so I didn't go too fast, didn't go too slow, and also I knew what turned her on, right? And make no mistake, guys, the idea that guys are selfish in bed is total bullshit. Guys want to please women at the heart. Every single study of men in bed is that the number one thing men want to hear in bed is that feels good and don't stop. Men want to see women in pleasure. In every single porn video, they focus on the woman's face because men really love that look of a woman feeling pleasure. Now, women's porn doesn't do that as much. It more focuses on the woman too, which is fine. I'm not, no judgment, but it's interesting. Now I'll talk about that later in another episode. But okay, so with Jessie, what happened was I kept going, and I sensed that something was coming that I didn't understand. So I just kept going. Like I was fucking relentless. I was a fucking sex robot. I was just going, and no mercy. I just didn't stop. And but like soft, and like, and the stories and the looks, and it was like even myself, I was like, holy shit, like you know, you this is the cool thing, is if you explore your sexualities, you start to know when you're sexy. Like I was like, oh my God, I'm fucking sexy tonight, like this is fucking hot, like, and I was just like just going. And what happened was she went into a full body orgasm, which I had never seen before or since. She literally went into like The Exorcist. This is the best way I can explain it. She started to convulse. Her whole body convulsed, and her pussy like absolutely tightened up, and it wouldn't let go of my cock. Like she went into like, she was just like foaming at the mouth. She was like, her whole body was absolutely just like The Exorcist. It was flying all over the place. I couldn't stop it. I could not take my dick out of her because it was stuck in there. And it was so long, like 20 minutes might not sound like a long time, but dude, 20 minutes is like 100 hours in this position, because I didn't know what was happening. Her body was, and I knew it was completely natural. She was absolutely losing her mind. She went into it's a full body orgasm, and it went on for 20 minutes. And I was like, I couldn't reach my phone, but I was going to call the ambulance, because I'm serious. I was going to call the ambulance because I was freaking out, because I was like, what the fuck, you know? It's like she wasn't even there mentally either. She was like totally not there. Like she was like an animal, like a dog or something, like a fucking beast, like just like losing it. And I was like, what the fuck am I gonna do? Like, and I thought, oh, I can't call the doctor because I was in China, and I was like, they don't like when foreigners, you know, like, I was like, this is sketchy. This is like socially sketchy. Like, and I'm like, but what am I going to do? Like, if she never lets go of me, like 20 minutes, dude, that's even a minute is long, dude. 20 minutes is like in years, right? So I'm just like, oh my God. So she went into this full body thing, and so finally I just had no choice but just to wait. And then she finally, and she was kicking me too. Like her body was just like, the muscles were just like reacting. And when it ended, she went into this like deep, I don't know what you call it. It was like another world of meditation or something. And for 2 weeks, this girl was like an absolute kitten after this. Like she was just like a kitten. Like this was not her personality either. She was just like smiling, these huge smiles. She's like leaning towards me. Her eyes would close. Like she's just like, she'd fall down. Like she literally fell down on the ground. Like her head bounced off the ground. Like she was just like completely out of it for 2 fucking weeks, man. And when I asked her, I said, I asked her about the situation. She literally could not remember. And this I believe, because I could see her in her face. Like she was like a little bit alarmed that I was alarmed, kind of, And I was like, holy shit, this is something I've never seen before. And I never saw it since. And I saw it again with her. And it was like amazing. It was like, almost like when you see, when you go and you see like a natural sight in the world, like you see like, I remember this beautiful waterfall in Indonesia in the jungle. And I was standing under, it's called Letter W Waterfall in Sumatra. In 1990, I was down there and I was like at the base of this thing. And the water was like rushing and I had almost just died from a cobra bite. It was like there was so much going on. I had these 2 Swedish girls with me. They were down cheering me on because I climbed down this cliff to get down to the waterfall. And I was just in absolute sheer awe of the waterfall. And the water was like the mist was like pushing me backwards. And I was just like so in awe of nature. That is how I felt about her afterwards. That moment with her. It was very, very special. And I think it went back to her naturalness. Is that she never lied to me about sex. Never. She did not care about my feelings. I love that. I actually love that. And I learned that. So I wouldn't have known that if it wasn't for her. And I learned that like honesty with sexuality is like super important because, well, I think it's so uncommon. Like people don't even know they can do it or that it's even anybody would do it because they're like, well, that would ruin the marriage, right? It's like, yeah, they would. But it would ruin a fake marriage and it would ruin a fake relationship. And that there is happiness or there is physical pleasure, okay, out there for you. But only if you're honest. Only if you're fucking honest. If you're lying to yourself or if you're with a girl who's lying to herself and lying about you, it's basically you're setting yourself up for a life. It's like trying to make love to an ice block. And it's so, like I said, it's so common in like women's magazines, women's books, mothers passing down like wisdom to daughters. It's just like a common thing. It's like, well, you won't really be that turned on by your husband, but just stick in there, it's worth it. You'll have a family and everything. And so a lot of women are told that this is normal. And then when they realize that, when they're ready, I guess when they're ready to leave, like in Harry Met Sally, they were getting divorced, right? And so when she was ready to leave that guy, then she was going to be honest, like, you never turned me on and this and that. But she did it in a very vindictive way where she was trying to hurt him like it was his fault. And I want to say to you guys, it's not your fault if you don't turn on a particular woman. It's just that woman's not turned on by you, right? And it might also, like, there is a chance, okay, like I look at Jessie, right? How she ended up, foaming at the mouth like a fucking wolf, at the full moon. She wouldn't have been like that if she hadn't been honest in the beginning with me. See, because I wouldn't have known how she really felt physically, right? And I wouldn't have been able to learn about her. And she needed very slow sex, this girl. And I was able to give her that because it was like an adventure for me, like figuring out her body, figuring out this whole thing it was like some kind of like adventure book for me. And it was very interesting for me, actually. And I'm grateful for that experience because it taught me a lot. So I would say like spot these things early, realize that you don't want that long term, that it's like, it's up to you as a man to spot the inconsistencies. It's almost like you're looking, let's say you're a psychologist and you're interviewing somebody to see if they have, some kind of mental disorder for a trial or something, right? Where you're trying to figure out, like, are they actually mentally ill and they're faking it? They're pretending like they're not. Or were they lying? Are they guilty, right? You're trying to, like, they're not telling you exactly they're guilty, and you're having to look at all the clues. You're having to figure everything out. It's your responsibility as a man to do that, because I honestly think I give women a little bit of a pass on this one, because I think women also don't know essentially that any kind of true bond can happen in a relationship. They don't even like none of their friends are like this. Everybody's faking it. Everybody that they know is married is full of shit. Every guy is going to whores on the side because he doesn't really love his wife. Like, he doesn't really turned on by, like, there's so much lying, there's so much faking going on in the world that I think it's kind of understandable. But one thing about Ronin Man community is, like, the guys don't want that. Fuck that. There's more. And nothing is better than fake. Okay, that's my final message. Nothing is great. Okay, so don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. If you are in a fake situation, if you're faking something, don't blame it on her. Don't get angry. Just realize that, do I want to live a fucking shit fake life? Trying to make love to a fucking iceberg, right? And am I going to blame it on the iceberg? No, man. It's like you took a job, right? Let's say you took a job. Okay, my final example. You took a job out of college and they told you it was going to be a certain way, and then you got there and it wasn't that way. Now, you had a responsibility to leave. If you stay there for 10 years, 20 years, and you get more and more angry, and then there's always that thing. A lot of guys, like when they win the lottery, they go to work and they tell their boss to take that job and shove it. I think they had a responsibility years ago to realize that that job is not for them, that there's other ways to make money and to take the risk, okay, to trust themselves and to realize that if they have value to an employer, they have value in their own business. An employer will only pay you money if they're making more money than they're paying you. Okay, so if they're paying you $15 an hour, they're making 16 on average, or 20, or 30. Now, they might be losing money on you because they might be making double on somebody else. So that's the only complication with corporations. But you don't want to be in that position where you are slowly building up anger and then you blame it on your boss. You're like, take this job and shove it. Fuck you. And the guy's like, dude, you took the fucking job, right? You chose the job. You stayed in the job. How was I to know that you fucking aren't happy? You know what I mean? Like, get a fucking job you like. Don't blame it on me, man. Don't blame it on me. Get a job you fucking like. And that's the attitude I would have in your mind, is if somebody's faking it with you, is like, it's not your fault. Just like the guy with the shitty job who blames it on his boss because he's too immature and he's also too insecure to realize that he's worth a good job, that he is a valuable employee, or he's worth having his own company, and have the confidence to go on his own. Don't blame other people. Make a move. Take a chance. There is risk in starting a business, right? And that's what people are afraid of. They're afraid they might fucking fail. Well, 9 out of 10 businesses fail in the first 5 years. So, hello, you're gonna fail if you start a business, okay? And you got to be ready to stick in there. Make sure you conserve your money, conserve your time, and make sure that you do it right, because don't expect it to work the first time, because starting a company is not the same as working at a company. Working at a company, you get a salary every month. And that's why people stay in shitty relationships, because they get a salary every month. They got somebody to walk around with. They can tell their mom they got a wife. They can fucking got a neighbors to, go to church, whatever the fuck they want to do. Company party. They wanted somebody who is going to have sex with them once in a while. But dude, that is a shit life. Guys are not happy with that. And you're going to pay the price. You're going to pay the price. Don't blame it on others. Don't blame it on others. Learn what you need to learn. And you are fucking valuable, guys. If you're not valuable to one person, trust me, you are incredibly valuable to another person. So keep fucking looking if you want to have sex, right? And you want to have some kind of relationship. And whatever you want to do. A lot of guys want to get married, whatever the fuck you want to do. The same principle applies. Don't live a fake life. Don't accept shit. Be honest and look very closely, because humans are very complicated when it comes to this kind of stuff. There's a lot of dishonesty, and it's not always vindictive. Sometimes they think there's no better way. The girl might think that's all, you're all she can get, right? She might have low self-esteem. Like, there's a lot of reasons why somebody would choose a life of mediocrity, but it's not what I want. And I think anybody on the Ronin Man fucking channel is like, really? Like, I don't want that either. I want fucking more. Or I want fucking freedom, because freedom is awesome, man. So the what do you call it? The option from any of these things is freedom. And freedom is great, man. It's great. So choose freedom or choose real life. Don't choose fake shit. All right, guys. Ronin Man signing off. I just got a couple books here. This one here, Private Dancer, classic book. If you're coming to Bangkok, you should definitely read this book. Don't fuck around. There's a lot of books like this. And if you live here, you're going to say, oh, you know, he's recommending these books, and they're like old, and, you know, everybody recommends these books. I still think for a new guy in town, you should read that book. Because speaking of dishonesty, these type of books will give you a clue of how different Asia can be. And I think that's an important thing to learn. It's an important thing to learn. And so that you can protect yourself. It's all about having a better life, man. And once you know the scene, once you know yourself, you can protect yourself. And also you can kind of like shrug stuff off. You know, sometimes it's okay, right? Sometimes it's fucking okay. Things aren't perfect. Things aren't always going to be black and white, right? Sometimes you got to compromise. But you know you're compromising. You know what you're doing. You know yourself. You know you're valuable. And you're fucking out there doing cool shit, right? And you're also, you know that you're always ready to leave. Because anything that's shit, you should leave. If my channel's shit, you should leave. If this relationship is shit, you should leave. If the job sucks, you should fucking leave. I mean, don't be an idiot, right? Don't leave when your rent's due the next day and you don't have any money. I mean, plan it out, be smart. But the guy doesn't deserve it. The company doesn't deserve it. The girl doesn't deserve it. And you don't deserve it. And that's most of all, because this is a channel for guys who are like often getting fucked over and have no idea what the fuck's going on. So I hope those tools have given you some insight, and where you can start to take some of the lessons I learned in my life and use those without having that experience, without having to waste, 20 years with chicks, I hope that can come in handy for you. Anyway, guys, I am going to have a great day and fucking do yoga. And I'm going to film a little yoga video explaining the Ronin Man style. It's more like fucking gonzo. It's not no hand jobs, no bullshit. It's fucking very fucking manly and very, very cool. And I'm going to try to narrow it down for anybody who doesn't think that they would ever fucking like yoga. But I think it's a very important thing. Otherwise, I would not mention it so many times. I think it's important to stay young. Because you got to stay young, you got to stay sexy, guys. Don't let yourself go to shit. In every sense of the word. Be the man. All right, guys. Ronin Man signing off.